Ωραία. Λοιπόν, καλημέρα σας. Είμαστε στην μεσημεριανή, θα έλεγα πια, συνεδρία. Καλούμε στο βήμα την κυρία Γιαννακού, Διευθύντρια Πρωτοβάθμιας Εκπαίδευσης Νομού Ιωνίνων. Το τίτλος της εισήγησής της είναι Curriculum and the Everyday Classroom Practices, Theoretical Approach. Κυρία Giannakou, ο λόγος σε εσάς.
Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ για την πρόσκληση και την αποδοχή της συμμετοχής. Η παρουσίασή μου από εδώ και πέρα θα είναι στα αγγλικά. We will attempt a presentation today which is focused on curriculum and the everyday classroom practices. It is a theoretical approach, and a more precise description and analysis may be reached in the recordings of the conference. The main points of the presentation are the concept of curriculum, curriculum and its classification, curriculum and everyday classroom practices, and at the end, the conclusions. Experts' definition given for curriculum do not have a common path. Nevertheless, they are attempted to form two categories according to the angle that every expert understands the meaning of curriculum. The category with a narrower concept and the category with a broader concept. In the broader concept, curriculum is an ensemble of programmed teaching activities or learning activities for the achievement of former defined concrete changes in students' behavior. The planning and the development of these programs are implemented by special scientists and teachers who are responsible for the elaboration of teaching programs for classes, schools, or school grades. Another definition that involves teachers in the implementation of curriculum is stated by Godson. Curriculum is the course that should be followed or presented. In the same perspective, De Pepe accepts the teacher's involvement in the procedure. Curriculum is the formal structure of rules within educational actions take place in the classroom. The definitions are embedded to the different approaches on the field of curriculum theory and practice that are accepted by the different curriculum experts. So far, the research has framed and accepted four ways of approaches: curriculum as knowledge to be transmitted, curriculum as product, curriculum as process, and curriculum as praxis. Curriculum as knowledge to be transmitted is equated with the syllabus, and this theoretical approach is mainly involved with the knowledge content and the subjects taught. Curriculum as product relates to the uprising of the scientific management, is well designed in detail, and is the product of a systematic study. In a sense, students need to conquer curriculum objectives assimilating specific experiences. Curriculum as process is concerned with the interaction of teachers, students, and knowledge, and thus is perceived as an active process that takes part within classrooms. Curriculum as praxis, which is development of a process model, brings into the cadre of educational practice the commitment to human emancipation, where planning, acting, and evaluating are all reciprocally related and integrated into the process. The structures and the ambitions of curriculum determine its character as traditional curriculum and contemporary curriculum. The traditional curriculum is consisted of simple material recording within the cadre of general, ethical, national, religious context disciplines without any correlation between knowledge and reality. Instead, the contemporary curriculum analyzes the targets, the context, and the methodology of teaching. The contemporary is distinguished as closed and open. The closed contemporary curriculum includes the targets, the context, and the methodology of instruction in detail. There is no essential space for innovation and creativity, and the teacher is imposed to follow a concrete sequence of material. Thus, teacher is restricted to the passive role of processor between the curriculum and the student, which leads to the professional degeneration and the enfeeblement of the teaching skills. The open contemporary curriculum summons teachers to choose through a thematic list of cognitive objects and shape out the teaching procedure. Teacher is free to apply the pedagogical insights in accordance with the classroom demands. Bernstein argued that educational knowledge is to a greater or lesser extent a mold which shapes their tendencies or personalities throughout three message systems: curriculum, pedagogy, and examination. As he wrote, curriculum defines what counts as a valid knowledge, pedagogy defines what counts as a valid transmission to knowledge, and evaluation defines what counts as a valid realization of the knowledge on the part of the taught. Bernstein's theory of classification refers to the degree of boundary maintenance between contents and is concerned with the insulational boundaries between curricular categories. Strong classification refers to curriculum that is highly differentiated and separated into traditional subjects. Weak classification refers to a curriculum that is integrated and in which boundaries between subjects are fragile. As for the framing, he proposed the strongly framed curriculum and the weak framed curriculum. In the strong framed curriculum, teacher and student have little control on the organization of material, as the structure of the program is defined in detail. In the weak framed curriculum, teacher and student have a little control on the organization of material, as the structure of the program is defined with every possible detail. In the weak framed curriculum, teacher and student can organize the selection of material, as the program has only a general aspiration. In other words, framing is about who controls what. It refers to the degree of control that the transmitter, the teacher, or the acquirer, the student, has over selection, sequencing, passing, and evaluation of the knowledge transmitted in the pedagogical relationship. Bernstein affected much research that continued and expanded his work in humanities. As from that, Fogarty had developed a typology of models of integrated curriculum that had been inspired by Bernstein's classification and framing. She identified 10 models of curriculum from strong classified and strong framed to weak classified and weak framed curriculum. That's the Fogarty typology. We see here that the models that are high in the table are characterized by strong classification and strong framing, while the others that are in the bottom of the table are more democratic models of curriculum. The educational interventions alter the requirements of curriculum and forming different results. For the researcher, it is important to record the intentions of curriculum and capture all the different approaches that are developed within classrooms. As from that, there are two dimensions of curriculum, the intended and the enacted. The intended curriculum comprises the educational policy, the purpose and the content of education, and its change relates to the internal educational reform. The enacted refers to the everyday classroom practices. The preactive potential is presented as the written curriculum, and the aspirations and intentions that are established within in the formulas of rules and criteria. It includes the past, intellectual and political settlement, as these are embedded in the written curriculum. The present potential is defined as the interactive realization of curriculum of the subjective interventions and actions of teachers and students. Godsons juxtaposes that curriculum is the black box where organized educational institutions seek to achieve their goals, while curriculum, as social configuration, should be studied in the basis of analysis of individual lives and biographies, as well as of social groups and structures. A slightly different approach of curriculum, organization and implementation is exposed by Marc de Pepe, who is concerned with relationships with everyday practice. He studies the influence that curriculum planning has in classroom practice, defining the classroom as the topos in which prescribers, organization and concrete pedagogy constantly intermingle. In the question between technology and utopia, for the definition of the curriculum guidelines, he proposes both rather than either or. The emergency of teachers' subjectivity in implementing curriculum intentions led to the detection of the pedagogical climate and the parameters that present a more educationalized environment. Phenomenology and ethnomethodology studies state that the school culture and dynamic is derived from interpretation of a situation of individuals that have a leading role. The focus is on the impact of different understanding of statements from participants in the educational process, through which created new perspectives and new subjective meanings that should be explored. The personal experience of teachers and students and their attitude towards knowledge are objects of research that define the course of the educational process. The interest on the pedagogical processes that occur in classrooms spawned the theory of classroom history. To analyze the base concepts of this theory, we will go back to a question that was posed by Tieng and Tobin relatively to the introduced educational innovations and their change. Why the established institutional forms of schooling being so stable, and why did most challenges fade or become marginalized? They call this phenomenon grammar of schooling, which means the entire regular strictures and rules that organize the work of instruction. They use Cuban's theory, which concludes that the culture of teaching concentrates upon the occupational ethos of teaching, folklore, occupational gimmicks, norms, and daily teaching reinforce that breeds conservative and resistance to any change. The teacher's beliefs introduce in the instruction field what teachers choose to do in their classrooms and explain the core of instructional practices that endure over the time. As for conclusions, it is apparent that the area of curriculum is not anymore the site of modeling and of the narrow technocratic rationalist experience. Yet it is not just a process that is learned and applied to draw concrete learning outcomes, but it is the means of social and ontological confirmation of everyone. As curriculum plays a significant role in the everyday classroom practices that are produced within the pedagogical context, a pledge of researchers appreciate teachers' dominant role on the essential educational quality relationships. Thank you very much for your attention.